holographic projection flickered to life in the center of the United Nations Assembly Hall, casting an eerie blue glow across the faces of Earth's leaders. Ambassador Zexathera of the Galactic Council stood 12 feet tall, her crystalline exoskeleton refracting light in patterns that hurt human eyes to follow. Behind her, the silhouettes of a dozen other species loomed: the reptilian Korthak, the gaseous Veil Dancers, the machine-like Construct Collective. Humans of Earth. Zexathera's voice resonated with harmonic frequencies that made the building's steel framework vibrate. The Council has reached its decision. Secretary General Maria Santos stood slowly, her weathered hands gripping the podium. At 73, she had witnessed humanity's first contact, the initial wonder, and now this moment that would define their species' future. We're listening. Your species has proven problematic. Your expansion rate exceeds acceptable parameters. Your military development violates 17 galactic peace accords. Your refusal to submit to Council oversight demonstrates a dangerous independence. Zexathera's multifaceted eyes fixed on Santos. Therefore, the Council demands immediate cessation of all space-based military programs, dismantling of your colonial fleets, and placement of Earth under Council protectorate status. The Assembly Hall erupted. Shouts in dozens of languages filled the air as delegates leaped to their feet. Santos raised her hand and slowly silence returned. "And if we refuse?" she asked. "Then humanity will be designated a Class 7 threat species. Your world will be quarantined. Your people relocated to designated preservation zones on Council worlds. This is not negotiable." Santos looked around the hall at the faces of her fellow humans. Chinese Premier Li Wei, whose ancestors had built walls to keep invaders out. President Okafor of the African Federation, descended from warriors who had never bowed to colonial powers. Director Petrov of the Russo-European Alliance, whose people had survived sieges that lasted years. She saw the same expression on every face, defiant resolve. "Ambassador," Santos said, her voice carrying clearly through the silence. "I believe I speak for all humanity when I say—" She paused, allowing a smile to cross her lips. "Go to hell." The projection flickered and died. Within hours, Council warships began massing at the edge of the solar system. Admiral Chen Nakamura stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, humanity's first dreadnought-class vessel, watching the tactical display with grim satisfaction. Around him, officers from every nation on Earth worked side by side, former enemies now united by a common threat. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Morrison from the sensor station, Council fleet dropping out of hyperspace. 247 vessels, including 12 planet crackers. Chen nodded. The Council had sent enough firepower to shatter worlds. Against humanity's hastily assembled fleet of 68 ships, the odds were mathematically impossible. Humans had never been good at math when it came to impossible odds. "Signal the fleet," Chen commanded. "All ships, weapons hot. We stand and fight." The first wave of Council ships swept in with elegant precision, their energy shields shimmering like soap bubbles around sleek, artistic hulls. They had fought 1,000 wars across the galaxy, perfecting their tactics over millennia. Their weapons were refined, their strategies proven. They had never fought humans before. The Council expected humanity to form traditional battle lines, to engage in the ritualized warfare that had governed galactic conflict for eons. Instead, the human fleet scattered like startled birds, each ship racing toward the enemy on a different vector. They flew like madmen, using gravity wells to slingshot themselves into impossible angles of attack. The UES Thermopylae, a retrofitted mining vessel, rammed itself directly into a Council cruiser's shield generator. Both ships died in a brilliant flash, but the cruiser's escort vessels were left defenseless against the missiles that came screaming in from 3 different directions. The UES Crazy Horse used its industrial cutting lasers, never designed for combat, to slice through a Council battleship's superstructure like a knife through silk. When Council fighters swarmed the human ship, Captain White Eagle laughed over the comm and detonated his reactor, taking 17 enemy craft with him. The Defiance herself waded into the thickest fighting, her crude but effective railguns punching holes through energy shields that had never encountered solid projectiles fired at relativistic speeds. Chen watched a Council dreadnought, a ship that had conquered systems, break apart under the barrage of tungsten rods moving at 30% of light speed. "Admiral?" Morrison's voice cracked with excitement. Council fleet is breaking formation. They're retreating. Chen allowed himself a moment of savage grin. Signal Earth Command. Tell them the first wave is repelled. He paused, studying the tactical display. And tell them to accelerate Project Prometheus. The Council will be back, and next time they'll bring their entire fleet. 6 months later, Zexthara stood once again in the UN Assembly, but this time her projection wavered with static. The Council's second fleet, 500 ships, lay scattered across the solar system as expanding clouds of debris. How? She demanded, her harmonic voice now discordant with shock. Your ships are primitive. Your weapons crude. Your tactics are insane, Santos suggested helpfully. Reckless? Suicidal? She stood and walked closer to the projection. You know what your problem is, Ambassador? You've spent so long being civilized that you forgot what war actually means. The Council has maintained peace for 10,000 years. You've maintained dominance, Santos corrected. Peace is what you call it when everyone's too afraid to fight back. But humans, we're not afraid. We're the species that looked at the vast darkness between stars and decided to go there anyway. We're the species that split atoms just to see what would happen. We're the species that strapped ourselves to controlled explosions and called it exploration. Santos gestured to the starfield visible through the assembly hall's dome. You want to know why you can't beat us? Because every human child grows up reading stories about David and Goliath, about Spartans at Thermopylae, about farmers who became soldiers and soldiers who became legends. We've been preparing for this fight our entire history. We just didn't know it yet. The projection stabilized as Zexthara regained her composure. The Council will not tolerate this defiance. We will bring our full might to bear. Go ahead, Santos said quietly. But understand this, humanity didn't crawl out of caves and build starships just to bow down to the first bullies we met among the stars. You demanded obedience. We answered with fire and steel. And every time you come back, we'll be ready with more of both. The projection died, and for the first time in 10,000 years, the Galactic Council began to wonder if they had finally met their match. In the shipyards of Earth, Mars, and Europa, the forges burned bright as humanity prepared for the next round. After all, they had a galaxy to explore, and nothing, not even an ancient interstellar empire, was going to stop them.